Hey everybody, Chris Gilmore here with WPTV. I'm joined again by Chantelle Brown, a tax and wealth strategist here in West Palm Beach with A-Class Tax Solutions. We're here. It's
Yes.
been a while, but we're back for another edition of Tax Tuesday. Taking a little break, but we're back April 13th, a few days away from what would have been the original tax day. But first off, thanks for joining us, Ms. Brown. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for the opportunity to once again be a resource to our community.
Yeah, and for everyone joining us on your lunch break via our WPTV Facebook page or YouTube, we want to welcome you as well and just introduce this as a time for you to get all your questions in. We are inching closer and closer to that big tax day, the tax filing deadline, and we want to make
Yes.
sure that you do not have the IRS on your tail. So, first off, good afternoon to everyone entering the room. Feel free to use that comment section as a way to directly contact myself and Ms. Brown for the next half hour or so as we try to get your tax questions. And first off, though, the big elephant in the room, Ms. Brown, is everyone pretty much thought that tax day was April 15th. That was the day that we were pushing hard, but we know that that is no longer the case. Tell us the change and why it's been put in place.
So the new tax date is going to be May 17th of this year. And the reason why that happened is because we're still heavily involved in the midst of this pandemic that we found ourselves in last year. And our governmental administration found that there were some things that needed to be changed mid-season during the tax year to our tax code in order to accommodate our tax-paying citizens. So they went ahead and extended that deadline so that they can do what they needed to do on their side to implement the changes that included saving $10,200 of unemployment. So that part of the first 10,200 in unemployment is no longer taxable, as well as making adjustments to the premium tax credit. So in order to make sure that everyone was able to take advantage of those few changes that they made to the tax code, they extended us grace and allowing us now to have a deadline of May 17th.
And make sure you're taking advantage of the time. I'm happy to see all the comments coming in. So, Allison, our producer, is going to help us get right into it. Jennifer's asking on Facebook, will we pay taxes on stimulus money? We've heard this one before. What's the answer, Ms. Brown?
So absolutely not. The stimulus money is simply an advanced tax credit. That is, so the monies that we received last year, which was the $12,000, as well as the $600 that we received this year, some last year, some the beginning of this year, was just an advanced tax credit for your 2020 taxes, and the $1,400 is simply an advanced tax credit on your 2021 taxes. So that money is not taxable at all.
Perfect. Moving on right down the line, we have a question from Lee Schussler saying, do I claim workers' compensation payments on my taxes?
Okay, Lee. So that's a great question. And the answer is no. Workers' compensation has never been a taxable form of income simply because it's an insurance.
Okay. And here we go. A question from Ushi. Good afternoon. So my boyfriend filed his taxes on March 3rd a while ago, and he got his state taxes back, but hasn't gotten his federal taxes back yet. And he also had to use his unemployment. I'm not sure where the question is there, but what can you tell her about her situation?
So in that situation, what it sounds as if is there could be several variables as to why he has not received it yet. One of those variables could have been unemployment. So what the IRS has advised us is if you filed your taxes prior to them updating the code or the tax softwares, if you will, then they are going to make that adjustment manually on their end. So it is a possibility that that is the reason why, but it could be various reasons. So what I would say is you are definitely outside of the 21 days that they ask us to give them. So if you wanted to have further information, I would just advise that you give them a call directly to the IRS. And that telephone number that you can call is 1-800-829-1040. Again, that's 1-800-829-1040.
Okay, I think Jessica Fuentes here has a similar question. She's outside that 21-day window. She filed back in February. She says she did call the IRS. They told me nothing was wrong, but she's still waiting.
Right. So in a situation like that, again, that's one of those things where if they've already looked at it, then you're probably just got caught up in a queue. So you're just probably waiting for manual processing from an IRS, from an actual IRS agent, opposed to it being able to be processed directly by the computer.
Okay. Hugo has an interesting question for those having to tap into their retirement savings. What if you had to take cash from your 401k due to the pandemic and paid 10% in taxes? Does this money count toward your income?
So absolutely. The money is definitely anytime we pull monies out of our retirement accounts, unless you take it out as a loan, where you're going to say to your service provider of the account that you're going to pay that money back, and whatever the increments is over a certain period of time. If you took it out as a distribution, then it's definitely going to affect your taxes. And generally, if you take it out prior to age 59 and a half, you're charged an additional 20% penalty. What the IRS or the administration has allowed us to do now is to forgive that 20% taxes, or not forgive it, but say that you don't have to pay it now. So you're still if you took that money out due to the fact that for COVID or pandemic related reasons, so you're still going to show that as taxable income, but the penalty on that can be offset for the current tax year. And you would be able to realize that, I think, over the next 3 years.
Okay. Good answers there. Keep the questions coming. We like to see the interaction with you guys as we get closer to that new date for tax filing. And about that date, Miss Brown, tell us if you plan on filing after April 15th. Is there going to be a need to file any kind of extension, or do you just go along as planned?
So right now we would say that you go along as planned. I know that one of the things that the IRS is recommending is that we do still go ahead and try to get our filings done prior to April the 15th. But if you do not file, I mean, if you do not, if you're unable to, because like one of the things that we're finding out is that we still have a lot of clients who haven't received all of their documents, right? So if you're in that situation where you're not ready to file, if you don't think that you'll be ready by May 17th, then I would say let's go ahead and get that extension filed now, so that it's not like a slip of the mind because we're so accustomed to filing taxes by April the 15th. But if you do not file by April the 15th, so long as you file by May the 17th, then your returns are going to be timely filed even without the extension.
Okay, perfect. Danielle having frustrations as well, waiting to get her taxes back. She says it's been 2 months. Kara followed her taxes. She's been waiting since March. Where are my taxes? A lot of frustration. Is the IRS more busy than normal? What could be some of the reasons, other than it being something on the tax filer's end?
So absolutely, the IRS right now, they're bombarded, right? So not only are they bombarded with trying to make sure that the taxes are going out that should be going out, making sure that there is no doing their very best to eliminate or to lower the amount of tax fraud that's going on. They're also having to deal with our stimulus payments, right? So and then we also have to take into consideration that during the pandemic, one of the companies or organizations, if you will, that was affected and had to let people go was the IRS. So they're working on minimum or skeleton staff, trying to make sure that they're processing our tax returns effectively, efficiently, as well as timely, in addition to making sure that they get these stimulus checks paid out. In addition to now trying to get a system put in place for the pending child tax credit, payments that should be starting back like over the summer, late summer. So I would say that they're definitely bombarded. But as a tax-paying citizen, you always have that right to continue to stay on their lines to find out if there's anything that you need to do. And I would say that if you waited for a while, that you definitely make sure that you're very diligent about checking your mail and not just throwing things away that may seem to be trash, because there's also possibilities that maybe you need to do ID verify. Maybe you had insurance through the marketplace, and what I'm finding a lot of is that people weren't aware that they had that insurance. And if you did, then you have to reconcile it, meaning that there is a form, that an additional form you need. So I would just say, just to make sure that you have done everything on your part, in regards to making sure that your return was done effective, correctly and accurately. And then at that point, it's just a waiting game, unfortunately.
You got an interesting question here from Omar Antonio, asking a question that a lot of us have been thinking about this past
Mhm.
year as we've seen Bitcoin explode and other cryptocurrencies as well. He's asking, how does owning cryptocurrencies affect your tax filing process?
So that is actually a really good question, Omar. And it's a really good question because one of the classes that we had to take, in preparing for the season was in regards to foreign exchange and cryptocurrency, because the rules of the world as it relates to IRS and tax filings is that the IRS don't care how you make your money. If you make money, then their expectation is that you pay taxes on it. So cryptocurrency is going to work the same as if it was any other stock in the American stock market. So if you have that, you should be able to obtain the forms from your trading platform that will allow you to be able to claim that either gain or loss on your tax return.
Okay. So there you go, Omar. Good luck with your Bitcoin. Danielle is asking, when should we expect our payments back, and who should we contact?
So my expectation is that you were talking about your refund, and then you are definitely going to want to call the number that's on the screen directly to the IRS. That number is 1-800-829-1040.
And you mentioned, Ms. Brown, the window for getting your return, you may have to wait. You said up to 21 days. Is about
Right. So typically, what the IRS says is from the time your return is accepted, they have 21 days to make a determination on whether or not they're going to pay your refund out or if they need additional time. Um, so after the 21 days is when they are recommending that if you have not received it within 21 days, on day 22, and just for clarity purposes, they're talking about 21 business days, not
okay.
21 calendar days, because they don't make payments on the weekend. So after 21 business days, if you have not received your refund, then my suggestion is definitely that you call, because one of the other things that we found is sometimes ID verify is necessary, and for whatever reason, the letter just never went out, because a lot of those things are automated, and as humans, we make mistakes, computers make mistakes as well.
Okay, I think we had Kimberly up next with a question. She was said, regarding PT work with UI, would I be better to use 2019 employment in which I made more, or 2020 UI with work income 4,000? That brings up a good point about the new credit, the look back credit we were talking about a while ago.
Right. So if I'm understanding that, and I'm not sure if that was referring to taxes or if it was referring to being able to maximize the unemployment. So if you can clarify that, I would love to be able to answer that question for you, Kimberly. But I don't want to guess at what you were speaking about, because I'm not sure. If we're talking about, as Chris mentioned, the look back credit, then it's definitely, if you made lower income in 2020 than you did in 2019, then you definitely want to make sure that you are capturing the 2020 income so that you can maximize your credits, just the tax credits. But if we're talking about unemployment, I'm not exactly sure if that would make a difference, as the unemployment department, I guess, is they already have the information on file as to what your actual earnings were.
Okay. Again, Kimberly, if you're still listening, go ahead and clarify your situation. We can try and get you some answers there if you don't mind sharing. If not, anyone else listening, feel free to go ahead and type up your questions. We are taking them live right now here on your WPTV Tax Tuesday with Chantelle Brown from A-Class Credit Solutions here in West Palm Beach. We want to go ahead and inform you, if you haven't been listening, during this feed, that tax deadline, originally April 15th, which we were all kind of looking forward to or dreading, depending your situation, has been pushed back to May 17th. So you have more time. Don't let it get away from you, though. May 17th is a lot closer than you think. It's just over a month away. We have a question coming in from Hugo again. with all these new changes this tax year, who should I see to do our taxes? I've used TurboTax in the past. Any suggestions? I know as soon as we say TurboTax, Miss Brown's shaking her head.
So what I would say is, and I think we said this, Chris, on a previous segment, is we understand that there's a lot of taxpayers who are DIYers, right? So you do it yourself, and under different circumstances, that may be okay. Because there's so many changes, is if you are not really clear on what those changes are, how they can affect you and your taxes, and you want to make sure that you maximize your taxes, then I'm definitely going to suggest that you speak to a tax professional that has understanding or a grasp of the knowledge to know what are going to be the best ways for you to maximize your taxes. So I would definitely recommend that you speak to a tax professional. And I do know I'm not a very big DIYer fan, but I do understand that sometimes that's what's necessary. But in regards to that, TurboTax does have that type of assistance that if you're not sure that I believe you can call someone within their realms in order to get clarity on what you should do in order to maximize your taxes.
Okay. Um, what you've seen so far in this tax filing season, I know you've been busy. This is your busiest time of year.
hmm
Have you noticed anything, questions that have kept on popping up among your clients, or just new hurdles that you've had to overcome pretty commonly this tax filing season?
So one of the things that we've seen a lot of is people not getting their tax documents simply because maybe the business closed down or there was some type of maybe the accountant or the owner of the company, what was individually affected, by the pandemic or by COVID. One of the things we're seeing a lot of is trading. So we're seeing a lot of people who did take advantage of the market during that time. And what else are we seeing a lot of? So we're having a lot of questions as it relates to one of the questions that has been common even on this thread is what's going on because it's taking so long for the IRS to make payments to
Yeah.
pay out. So what I would say is we are and have been, and we're grateful that we have been extremely busy. So the way that I look at it and I try to explain it to my clients is that if you're coming here and you're having a difficult time getting through to us, and we're just dealing with a segment of the tax-paying population, imagine what's happening with the IRS right now.
Yeah, you mentioned the crazy year that we've had. We saw. Oh, Kimberly's back. Okay, I'll
Okay.
get back. I'll hold that thought. She said she
Okay.
made 16,000 regular work plus UI in 2019. In 2020, she made 4,000 regular work plus UI. Which would be better for me to use, the 16 or the 4,000?
So, Kimberly, if you have dependents that qualify as your qualifying child, and you're going to be eligible for the earned income tax credit, possibly even the child tax credit, then it is definitely going to be more beneficial for you to do the look back credit and use the 16,000. So just for clarity, the way that that's going to work, you're still going to report your 2020 income. So you're still going to report the income that you received in 2020 as the $4,000 and whatever that unemployment amount is. However, there's going to be a section or option for you to use your prior year income in order for them to calculate that tax credit. So I hope that answered your question.
All right. I see a bunch of people answering some questions in the comment section too, um, about the tax deadline. May 17th is the new deadline. Back to my point, I was saying I was one of those people who was just kind of watching the market crash this year. One of the craziest things that happened in terms of stocks. And I've never bought a stock in my life until
Mhm.
this past year, but everyone was saying, hey, there's a silver lining to all these red numbers that we're seeing. Now's the time to buy. So I went ahead and did so, mentioned it to my tax professional this filing season. But they told me unless I sold and made money
Right.
on stocks, I'm okay. I,
Right.
I
Yeah, so that's absolutely correct, Chris. If you didn't sell like I did, well, I had already had an account prior, but I also I bought a little bit more, but I'm not a trader. I believe in long-term growth. So my form was a little not as bad. But then I have some clients that's coming in, Chris, that has 44, 50 pages because they were literally day trading. And I would say that if you're not a professional, then you want to be careful with that, because we're seeing a lot of people losing a lot of money that in real life we don't have to lose right now.
And if you're fortunate enough to find yourself in that situation, I know, that market reflected a lot of, people losing their jobs and finding
Hmm.
themselves in other situations. So um, it's not for everybody, but it's just interesting. Keep the questions coming, guys. I appreciate you guys using your lunch break to spend time with Ms. Brown and I. She's always a pleasure to have in the stream yard, so to speak, because we don't get this opportunity that often. But we have a month left is the big reason that we're here, May 17th, to go ahead
Right.
and file your taxes. A lot of you, since we've last done a tax Tuesday, have gotten your third round of stimulus checks, so
Right.
that's something to sweeten the deal a little bit. You might have a little bit more money to make ends meet, but now's the time to make sure that we are paying Uncle Sam, or in a lot of situations he pays us, which is always nice.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's
So,
really good.
Chris, there is a question. I'm not sure that we addressed it from, is it Yuchi? Yuchi?
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to, because I was trying to read through them really quick. So I would definitely like to address this particular question. So the answer to that question is no. The IRS is not paying taxes back until May. They are paying them back as they're processing them. How and then what? So and then what they're doing is if you already received your taxes. So if you filed your taxes prior to the update happening as it related to unemployment, as well as the premium tax credit, then the IRS is going to automatically make those adjustments. There is no need to file an amended tax return. So even if you've already received your refund and you had unemployment, then the IRS is going to make the necessary corrections on their side. And then if there's an additional refund due, they would send that refund to you via direct deposit, I believe, or they'll mail you a check. So there is no need to file an amended tax return if you filed prior to the update. Now, there was recently, and I want to say that it actually just updated, the IRS just came out with guidance on the premium tax credit. I believe it was last week, that if you had the premium tax credit and you were in a situation where you received more earned unemployment than normally than you would have received income, so you were going to owe premium tax credit back. They're saying now that you don't even need to file the form 8962 because you're no longer responsible for making those payments back. But if you've already filed your return prior to any of these adjustments, no amended return is necessary.
Okay. Um, I see it coming up a lot in the comment section, and I know we've addressed it in the past Tax Tuesdays. But what is the fastest way to ensure that you're getting your tax returns on time? How can you ensure that you're getting it as quickly and smoothly as possible?
So I would say is not to file until you have all of your documents, to ensure that you have direct deposit, because what we're finding now is, especially with the delay that we've experienced with the mail, is that it is taken, and we saw it with the stimulus checks where some people were saying like their stimulus check was mailed out on a certain day and they didn't get it for like 2 weeks in the mail. So I would definitely say is to make sure that you're accurately filing your taxes, make sure you have all of the documents that you need, and then do direct deposit.
And here's another one that I know that we've addressed in the past: the whole child tax credit, and parents who are co-parenting. How do you tackle that? I know that a lot of people find themselves in blended families, and it takes some cooperation.
So, well, actually, what is happening is because we've had that happen as well, in a situation where they are co-parenting and they are alternating years. So, particularly, we had a situation where we have a client who, the father, so it's a father mother, the father claimed the child in 2019, and then they end up getting the stimulus check for the child. And then when the mother claimed the child in 2020, because even though the father had received the stimulus check for the 2019 filing, when the mother filed her taxes in 2020, she still got the stimulus check. for the kid. So she was able to claim the credit because remember it was an advanced credit. So we've had several situations where both parents end up getting the stimulus check for the same child.
Hey, so it always
Mhm.
checks to be careful and then watch your credits.
Right.
If you guys don't have any more questions, we can go ahead and wrap this Tax Tuesday up. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. We appreciate it. But it's okay. We will be back. There's a lot of time between now and May 17th. Not too much, but enough for some more Tax Tuesdays. Um,
Yes.
how about we take this one last question, last minute
Okay.
question coming in from Farlane. She's saying, is there a penalty for the amendment tax return?
So, Farlane, that is actually a really good question. I actually hear that one a lot. Excuse me. So there is not a penalty for filing an amended tax return. There is not a penalty. However, if you don't file it in a timely fashion and your amended return shows that you're going to owe taxes, then you can be penalized for not paying the taxes that was due when it was due. So you're not penalized if you're filing just for filing the amended return, but depending upon when that amended return is filed, you could possibly be penalized for failure to pay.
Okay. So it's all about timing, Farlane. And I
Yes.
said that's the last one, but Lee has another question coming in. That's interesting. I just love tax questions. What can I say?
Yes.
Uh, Lee's saying she's working the majority of the year in Florida, but part of the year in New York. The company's home base is in New York. Can she receive credit from New York State?
So if you actually physically worked in the state of New York, not necessarily sure like what credits you would file or that you could claim as a part year or non-resident, but you would definitely be required to file a tax return for the state of New York, even if you work 2 days there, because New York is a state that has state taxes. So you're definitely going to have to file the tax return, but I'm not exactly sure that if you are a non-resident or a part-year resident, what credits you could possibly qualify for.
Okay, so there you go. And also, it would be a good idea to contact your employer and the HR department. I'm sure they have all those answers for you, as they're the ones that send out all the W-2s and things like that. Um, and then to answer Ingrid's questions, I could take this one because this is what we've been talking about all Tax Tuesday this session. Normally takes about 21 days. That's 21 business days, not
Hmm.
calendar days. And Ingrid, if you want to go ahead and watch this back, we had a 1-800 number we were flashing up on the screen to contact the IRS if you have any questions. There it is, Allison, on the money with all these prompts. And if you want to go ahead and contact them if you're still having questions about how long it's taken to receive that money or return, you can go ahead and contact them directly. But thank you guys for being so active and involved. It's made it easy to keep the
Yes.
conversation going. Clearly, a lot of you out there still have questions and
Hmm.
comments about the tax process. It's not easy. That's why we have Miss Chantelle Brown here, and she will be back, thankfully, for another handful of Tax Tuesdays here at WPTV as we get closer to that new filing date of May 17th. So, in
Yes.
the time being, get your documents together, get everything in line because it's a different year this year,
Yes.
unlike any that we've seen in the past. So, thank you so much, Ms. Brown, for joining us again. It's always a pleasure to have you. And thank you all for joining us in the comments section. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I always look forward to, again, being a resource to the community. So if anyone has any questions, they can definitely feel free to reach out to myself or my office, and we're here to help you through this because we do understand that this year is definitely different than any other that we've seen in our career. So,
All right. And we will pick up again. Don't worry, guys. We will notify you on our WPTV Facebook page and on air about when this next one is. It'll be coming up sometime later this May. Have a great day, everyone.
all right, thank you. Good day.